Hi everyone, and welcome to the Purl Girl Knits podcast. I believe it is episode 20. I am Catherine, your host, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry under Purl Girl Knits, and we also have a Ravelry groups page for the Purl Girl Knits podcast. The group right now, I haven't entered a lot of notes lately, and there's no knit along, so nothing's really happening on it. But if we have knit alongs or stitch alongs or sew alongs or anything that's happening in the podcast, will be on the group when it's going to happen. I just have like a little piece of hair over here. I've decided to record really quickly this morning. I had an unexpected work showing up, and so my schedule has filled up extremely fast. But when I got up this morning, I didn't want it to let it go either for another month or 2 months before I have another podcast. So I'm making the choice today of recording a podcast, but I don't think I will have time to edit this podcast at all. But if for any reason you have any questions on patterns or designers or anything like that, please feel free to leave a comment or send me a private message on Instagram and or Ravelry or on YouTube, and I will get back to you with the information that you need. And hopefully this will help you. But yeah, mostly I just didn't want it to go with another really long period of time without having a podcast, and so this is the compromise I'm doing. I am recording, but I will not have time to edit this podcast. So good morning. It is Tuesday, June 17, 18, something like this. It is slightly early in the morning. I still have my coffee with me. I normally don't drink in the podcast, but it's really early, so I'm gonna have my coffee with this one. Exception to the rule, right? So good morning, everyone. For today's episode, there will be a little bit of knitting and a little bit of cross-stitching. I do have a cross-stitching acquisition today, so I will leave the cross-stitch for the end of the podcast. Because of that, because I know not everyone wants to have acquisition, because then you want everything. And I understand that. I'm one of those persons. So I will start with knitting, show you what I have, and then I will go into cross-stitching, and then I will go into my cross-stitching acquisition. So let's start. First thing I think I'm going to show you will be my little base square that I have done for my cozy memory blanket. If you have watched me before, you know what those are. If you have not watched me before, on my cozy memory blanket, basically I am knitting it as a pyramid, and there is a beige line in between every square, and so therefore I need to attach things together. And so I'm starting with base squares that are like this, and then I'm attaching them to the blanket, and then I'm going forward. So here are a few. So this one, I just love the color changes. This is a handspun. A fingering weight. This was organic Polworth. And this one is the same thing. And I'm trying to see the best way to show it to you guys. And this is also the same skein from this one. So you can see the big color changes that you have, that I've created in there. So basically what I did when I spinned it, I took the braid that I had, I divided it in two. And then what I've done is that, I've divided it in three, sorry. I've spun one, no, I think there was only two though. Yes. Rewind. I have divided my braid in two equal parts. I've spun one of it directly how it was, and the second half of it, I've divided it a second time in on the long side. So I ended up with a big fat part of the braid and 2/4 part of the braid. Therefore, it created a barber pole effect, but it also created that sometimes the same color were at the same place at the same time, and I really, really, really enjoy that. And it creates a beautiful gradient, basically. Because this is almost, if I would have continued knitting, it would have been both to the dark orange. And this one was the mix between it's kind of like a golden marigold kind of yellow orangey, and then the blue, and then as you see here we have the golden blue going into the blue, and on the edge over here it's only blue. As you can see. And so this is one of my favorite handspun that I have done. I have another a braid from that same person. It's not the same colors, but it's the same dyer, and I can't wait to spin this one the exact same way that I spin this one because I really, really love it. So here are 2 base squares. And then I had this one, which is the Ray colorway from Mustache Yarn, also fingering weight. This is some of the minis that I bought when she had her May the Force Be With You sale in May. I love it. I really, really do. I kind of like how the blue ended up kind of doing like a little border kind of effect, just because of how it ended up. And this one is part of a green pair of socks that I'm going to show you right away. All fingering. I tried, those 2 were from my motor dye shawl that I've knitted. This is one of the 2 colorways that I took to put in the pattern. I've tried with the gray that I had, but the gray was thicker, and therefore the square ended up too big, too dense, and it wouldn't fit nicely in my cozy memory blanket. I kind of really want my cozy memory blanket to be the same weight in all of my yarn, or at least close enough. I know I have one square in there that is a little bit on the thicker side. I didn't rip it off because it wasn't there and it was fine, but I don't want to go any thicker than that one, so I've decided to not put the square of the gray that I have done for that, because it just doesn't quite work. Okay, finished object. Talking about green socks. Da, 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 da. Let me get a sock blocker really fast because they are right here. I love them so much. So this is a pair of sock that I've knitted for my partner, Jason. And the sock blockers are for me, so they're a little bit smaller than him, so the sock always seems big on it. And so here we are. So this is just a simple vanilla socks. I did it toe up. I cast it on 68 because that's his preference, but I think I'm going to try 64 on my next pair because I think that this pair of socks now are kind of worn out and they're now bigger than they used to be. So I think on my next pair I'll try 64 and see how that goes. But 68 inches rounded toe. I'm sorry, the sun is not, it's the first time that I'm recording that early in the morning, and so the sun is not quite in a good position for us. Sorry. Did a vanilla sock recipe that I do for him. I did a 15 rows of 2x2 ribbing. I did an afterthought heel. This time I tried to do the afterthought heel with a scrap piece of yarn. I did do a true afterthought heel a little while ago. It's totally fine. It's great. You just do it, you cut the yarn, and you're good to go. And then you weave in the end. The reason why I wanted to try it with a scrap piece of yarn is because you end up with 2 less strand of yarn to weave in at the end, and I hate weaving ends at the end of a project, and that's why on my cozy memory blanket I'm actually considering putting something on the back of it so that I don't have to weave in all the ends. And that's why I wanted to try the afterthought eel, but with a scrap piece of yarn instead, so that I don't have those two extra the one that you would normally cut. Then you end up with those two pieces that you now need to weave in on top of the yarn you're attaching. So it's 3 pieces that you need to weave in plus the end of it, so it's 4. And so I was trying with this to actually try to do it with only 2 pieces, which would be the yarn that was attached to it. Now, a lot of people were saying that when you do it with a scrap piece of yarn, to just be careful because you end up with the little gaps on each side. See, no gap. Basically what I have done for anybody that's interested in this is that the video that I looked when I did the true afterthought heel, she cut the yarn and then actually left 2 strings on both sides still attached and didn't unweave those guys. And so when she picks up on both sides, there's actually 2 stitches that are actually still in a knitted position, if we want to call that, because I mean the strand is cut, so it's still a little bit loose, but they're still connecting the yarn from the top to the bottom on both sides. And so she was saying that's how she makes sure that she doesn't have a gap when she do her afterthought. And so I decided to actually try the same thing with my scrappy afterthought heel. So this was a 68 stitches sock. So I had 34 stitches for my heel. And so what I have done is that I've actually knitted 2 in my green color, attached the scrap yarn for 30 stitches, and then knitted another 2 in my green color. And so when I picked up my stitches, I've made sure that I picked up 34, 2 on both sides plus everything that was attached to the scrap yarn. And by doing so, I avoided the little gaps. The little gap is not there. It's fantastic. And I think I will do that from now on. I will, every time that I need to do an afterthought heel, I will do this and I will pick up 2 stitches before and 2 stitches after. The only thing that I have done is because it's on 2 different rows, on each side there's 1 stitch that I pick up a row under to make sure that there wouldn't be a gap over there because of the extra line in between. But that's the only thing that I've done. Fairly simple, done. And all weaved in. We have 2, so it's a fully finished object. The yarn that I used was Lana Grossa. Every time I'm not too sure how to pronounce this. So Lana Grossa, it is a self-striping yarn, 80% wool, 20% polyamide. It's 100 grams and you get 420 meters. And this is one of those 2 numbers is the colorway. Don't know which one, but one of them is. Great yarn, would buy it again. It worked fantastic. And it's a really great self-striping pattern. It was funny because people that have watched the podcast before know that I work in dark environments with blue lights. And when I was knitting this, the bright green strip right here actually showed up exactly like the light gray showed up. And so every time I needed to actually count and make sure that I had the good number of pattern repeats in there before actually do the scrap yarn and do the ribbing. So that was that. It was knitted with my Chiagu sock set that I love and that I always use for every single sock. So I might actually have to buy another set. It is a 2.5 millimeter needle. I do use 9 inches Chiagu metal circulars to knit the big part of my sock. And then I do have a 2.5 Chiagu sock midi twist interchangeable set. I don't have the interchangeable set. I just bought the cable and the needle that I needed, and that's all I need, really. And so yeah, this is a pair of socks. And then I've also crocheted 2 little hexagons. My dog is going to come back from its walk, so it might be a little bit noisy. 2 little hexagons with that yarn as well. From the sock that I've just knitted out of it. So this is going to go in my hexagon blanket. Okay, and now I think that's the only finished object that I had knitting related. So of course, when I finish a pair of socks, I start another pair of socks, right? That totally makes sense. And so I've started another pair of socks for my partner once again. And this one, the yarn is a Regia Perfect yarn from Arnis and Carlos. I normally don't follow the instructions because I know what I need to do to make it work for toe-up socks, because this is a cuff down. Now, my partner actually mentioned how with his socks, I can't find a bind off that works for him. I've tried a lot and none of them work. It's always too tight or it's always too loose. I can't find a happy medium. So I've decided to try a cuff down for him and actually follow what the ball is telling me to do. But I know exactly what I need to do when I do it toe up, so that's good. So I'm trying a cuff down, but see how the 2 cuffs are a little different? See how this one kind of flares out, but this one doesn't? So I'm just hoping that this is going to be enough for him to hold it a little bit more. Also, I've done a way longer ribbing than I normally do. And so hopefully that's also going to help, and we will see. So I have started this. The leg is now complete. I have turned my heel, and now I'm starting the leg. The feet, sorry. The feet. And as you can see, I'm knitting it with my 9-inch circulars that I love. I love them. And we'll see how that goes. This is this, and I've also started it. I don't think this one I started it with my mini twist. I think I started right away on my 9-inch, and so I think the only thing is that when I'll get to the toe, when I'll have to decrease and get and close it, I'll have to change on my mini twist set to be able to do that properly instead of this. So that was my second pair of socks, and I have this in my biscuit yarn. Gryffindor little bag. So this is in the making. And the last knitting project that I have to show you guys is something that I started. It's something that I wanted to start for a long time. And I think I started at one point and then I ripped it. I frogged it, sorry. I frogged it and never got back to it. The pattern was in my email account for a really long time. And it's kind of at a point here that it's quite warm in the day, but it's quite chilly in the evening. And we have the dog, as you know, and when we walk the dog at night, it's kind of chilly. And so I wanted just to have a nice little sweater that I could just pop on and go and take a walk with the dog in the evening and not feel like I need to have a coat on. But by doing that, I also didn't want to buy yarn because you guys know, any returning viewers, that I am really working hard this year to actually knit from stash and cross stitch from stash and all those little projects that I had that I wanted to do to actually accomplish them. So I'm kind of on a roll of using stash items, doing patterns that I wanted to do that I just never got to so far. And there was one more thing. Stash, pattern, and technique. Stash, pattern, and technique. Using techniques that I've never really done before or that I don't really necessarily master. For example, quilting, the stop stitching. I'm still working on it. Still having a really hard time, but still working on it. Doing an afterthought heel. I did it with the true afterthought that I got. I wanted to try it with a scrap. I tried it with a scrap. This is the year that I kind of want to accomplish all those little things that I've always left on the side because of other reasons. And this is what I'm doing. But because I'm knitting from stash, I didn't had the weight of the yarn that I needed for this pattern. And so I picked up what I needed and I adjusted the pattern accordingly. I'm at a point now that I know enough from my gauge and the yarns that I use and I have a little bit more knitting practice, if you want to call that. I wouldn't call that expertise because it's not. So let's call it practice. For me to actually change the pattern accordingly to accommodate the size of yarn that I have in stash. And so this is the yarn that I have. I got that I think a year and a half ago when I did a blanket for a friend. I bought 2 batches of yarn. Just because I wasn't sure what kind of yarn she wanted. She chose the other one, and so I was left with this, but I have like 5 or 6 balls of that, I think 5, and I kind of want to use them. And I thought, so this is a Lion brand yarn. It is the Wool Ease Thick and Quick. It is 80% acrylic, 20% wool. It's super bulky. And machine washable and dryable, because when you take a walk with the dog, you never know what's going to happen. So I thought it was really, really nice to have it washable. And this is 174 yards in the ball. I know some people hate acrylic yarns and those kinds of yarns, but I do feel that sometimes they do serve a purpose, and this is one of them. I am not following exactly the pattern that I have. The pattern that I based myself, I think this is the good word, basing, base, because I'm changing a lot of it, but the thought is still there. So I'm basing myself on the quarterback dress from the Wool and Gang. And I'm not sure if you can buy just the pattern anymore or if you need to buy the kit. I know that when I bought it, the Wool and the Gang were selling just patterns. I find it hard now. I find now that they do kind of tend to get just into their kits. I did look for patterns the other day. I couldn't find some. Maybe it was just like a website, like tune-up that they were doing and I couldn't get to it, or if they just went into the kits that they're doing. If you know, please leave a comment below. I would really, really love to know, because I got that pattern without the kit and I love it. And sometimes you don't necessarily want to buy an entire kit. Sometimes you want to use something else for it. And yeah. So I've changed the amount of stitches considerably. So this is going to be a really amazing bulky sweater. I don't have any. And I never really wanted one, and now I do. So I'm knitting one, and I'm going to have a nice bulky sweater. And so this is the bulky sweater. This is how it's knitting up. I love the difference in the gray in the yarn, how it knits up. It's way more beautiful on the sweater like this knit up than on the ball like this. I am happily pleased to see how it knits up. So I've started it at the bottom and I'm knitting up. I did a 2x2 ribbing, which is a change from the pattern because they're calling for a 1x1 ribbing. I just love 2x2 because it means that I need to change less where my yarn is coming from. So I've changed that. I added more to my ribbing as well than what the pattern is calling for. I have less stitches on the needle because I have way bigger needles than what the pattern is calling for. That's why I'm saying I kind of based myself on it, but it's not really it anymore. So I'm going up, and then what's great with the quarterback dress is that I'm also going to do it shorter because I wanted it as a sweater and not as a dress. But what is great is that there is a V back that is actually opened. And this is what I really, really liked about it. Now, I was super excited when I cast that on. And now I kind of think that it's more like against the purpose of having a really hot sweater if this is open. What do you think? I really need input on that, so if you have any opinions, please leave a comment below or send me a message on Instagram. I would love to know what you guys have to think. So this is an open V-back. So there's tons of options. I leave it open and I just have a t-shirt underneath it and it should do the trick because it's summer cold. It's not winter cold. I can put another kind of yarn in there. And so it would be a V shape from another yarn. That's another possibility. I can do the same thing, a V shape with another yarn from another weight. And so it would be a little bit more open. Like for example, if I take a fingering weight and knit it with a 9mm needle, it would be more open and more lace looking. But there still would be a little bit of wool, and so there would be a little bit of warmth also. Yeah, what do you guys think? Please let me know. Please let me know, because I'm at the point where I'm gonna have to start the V in a couple of rows. Where did I? Yeah, in about 15 rows or so, 10 or 15 rows or so. I'll have to count. And so this is going to be great. It's going to be bulky, it's going to be big, and I think it's going to be amazing. So stay tuned to see how that turns out. This is probably going to be done when it's going to be super hot outside and not cold anymore, and I won't be able to wear it like most of my projects. I've noticed that I kind of get inspired to knit on things when I want them, when I get into a situation where I could have used it. And now by the time I finish the project, well then it's over. And it's good for next year. It's still all good. Oops, sorry, that was my mug. And so this is all that I had for knitting. Now let's jump into cross stitching. I have one finished object. It's not framed yet, so it's not fully finished, but it is cross stitched finished. And this is my sweetest pie sal that I did from the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. It finished in April, I believe. And this is 12 pieces of pie. We had one every month. It was a great stitch along. I loved it. I loved to see what everybody posted on Instagram and what everybody was saying about everyone. It was really, really fun. It was great. It was my first stitch along. It was fantastic. I don't know, like I think that for a stitch along for me, I'll have to really pinpoint the ones that I truly want to do. Because I did said that multiple times, I don't have a lot of great natural light coming in. I have a great like 2 hours in the day that I have really, really great light, but then I need to be at home for that period. Otherwise, I'm not getting that 2 hours of really, really good light. And I don't have a great stitching lights. I think that what I'm gonna do is that in this lamp, I might switch the light bulb for one of those intelligent LED light bulbs and get it like super bright, and hopefully that might help me to stitch at night and give me a little bit more options, but we'll see. And so here it is. What I got, it was actually the kit that they were selling when they announced the stitch along. And funny story, when I live in Canada, so when that came, it came from the States, it crossed the customs and got to me. This is a cross-stitching kit. Everybody knows that. And so it was a cross-stitching kit named Sweetest Pie, and because of the Sweetest Pie on the custom order, custom charged me for food. True story. Yeah. Customs are funny sometimes. But here you go. Try to get it a little bit closer. Da, 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 da. So there you go. 12 pies. This is so cute. My plan is to frame this and putting in my dining room because I don't have anything in my dining room right now. And have it protected with a glass and all of that. But this is my plan. And so let's see if I can remember them. I know I wrote them down and I forgot my paper before I recorded. So, lemon meringue, cherry, grasshopper, strawberry rhubarb, chocolate, like a chocolate pudding kind, lime, blueberry, cookies and cream, apple, pumpkin, pecan, and peppermint. I got them. It's so beautiful. I really, really love it. This is a 28 count linen, and it is stitched 2/2 all over. So I love it. The floss was a mix of DMC floss and Weeks Dye Works. My next project is a little bit of a bigger one. That's why it's on the frame. My next project is a little bit of a bigger one. That's why it's on the frame. I think I will eventually look into more frames. I believe there is the Little Yellow House. On her podcast, she talked about a series of frames that she bought, and I really, really like them. And so I'll see what I can do. Maybe on Christmas or something, I'll get some. But what I like about them is that you can totally change. Like, it's not a frame that you get, it's the vertical poles and the horizontal poles, and then you can interchange them as you need and as you want. And I really, really like that option, because for example, this one I would have needed probably another 3 inches or so to really have it comfortably on my frame. I know I'm not going to get all the way up to the border because I need space for framing, but it's going to be tight, and so I would have probably appreciated that. But this is a great frame. That was my mom's old frame, and I still love it. I also might need eventually a frame holder, a frame stand to help me sometimes with those big guys, but it's all fine. It's all good. And so here I am. Woo. And so this is a pattern from Pixel Comfort that I got on Etsy. It is a Zelda map. And this is still, I think, page 1. As you guys know, I normally stitch colors, and I tend to not mix them. I had to change because I was doing a lot of a lot of green and I had to change them. So here's the pattern. Here's how it's gonna look like. And so I'm like here. I haven't stitched a lot on it because it's big and I need quite a bit of light to actually be able to do so. But that's why I just changed so slightly colors. So that I'm leaving the green, giving it a little break, and moving to a really beautiful, beautiful blue. And then there's my peacock needle minder that I got at Traditional Stitches. I don't remember if this is a 28 or a 32 count. It's one or the other. I got it because it was in the sale bin from Traditional Stitches. It was just too expensive for me to get the piece that I needed, so I got into the sale bin and just got what I needed. I thought white would be a good option because of all the white border, just to make sure. And then when I started to stitch it, we can see a lot of white coming out of it, and I wasn't fully happy with that. And so because of that, I am stitching 3/2. I tried 1/1, 2/1, 2/2, 3/2, and 3/2 was what was giving me the most coverage. And that we would, like, the thing is that we still could see the white when I was doing a 2/2, and I didn't want that because it's so colored and it's fully stitched. There's no empty space, and because of that I didn't want it to see any white coming through it. And to be able to balance this out, I went with 3/2. So that means I'll have to buy a little bit more floss, but I think at the end of the day we're going to be more happy than seeing the white. So this is from my partner, of course, as he's the Zelda fan, and this is going to be going to him in a little while because this is not going to be done in a week. And so lasting acquisition really quickly. I did order some Lizzie Kate when Lizzie Kate announced in March that they were retiring. So great for them. They did really, really wonderful things for cross stitchers, and if they want to retire, well then, good for them, right? They deserve it. They did wonderful things, and so they deserve their retirement. And so I ordered things. I probably did what everybody did. There was a bunch of orders that came through because I think she was accepting orders all the way up to the end of March. Don't quote me on that because I'm not too sure if that was the thing or if they would still send things after that or not. But when I saw that tons of people were trying to look for things and they already couldn't find them, I did pass an order. Now, I passed an order for the one that I wanted, and then realized that another one that I wanted was from them, and I just never realized it. And so I ordered both of them. So this one I ordered the kit. Both of them are coming from Traditional Stitches. This is my local cross stitching, my local needlework store. And they've always been great customer service. And so I've ordered that from them. So we have a great, let me get it out. One sec. I just don't want all the fuss too. So that's a really nice raw beige linen. And the floss is all Weeks Dye Works with one exception. It's really gorgeous. It's not too bright. And then we also have a nice little off-white. And then there's a classic color work, boysenberry jam, which is the only one that's different. That is not a week's dye work. So I'm just going to quickly put this back in before it all falls down again. And so the fabric is a 32 count lamb's wool linen. It's 18 by 55. And then the pattern was actually a series of, I believe it's 7 different little quote. And so basically all of them end up in this banner. And so that's why I kind of wanted to do it. I just thought that would be a great thing with great values to actually have. And all of them, I'm not going to show you, but all of them, you have the chart inside and then you have a little button in it. So all of them has a little button that goes with it. I don't know if I'm going to use the button or not yet. And I think it's the same button for all of them. But yeah, so first one is called Be Kind Always, and it says, be kind always, enjoy every moment. The second one says, forgive, move on, think happy thoughts. The third one, you've got this, be you bravely. Today, choose joy, keep it simple. Never give up, make it happen. Dreaming is free, believe in miracles. And the last one, embrace the journey, life is good. So I just thought that was a really, really nice thing to remind ourselves sometimes, right? And so I just thought it would be great somewhere in my hips. So I bought that. And then the last thing is A Good Marriage from Lazy Kate. I've seen this a really long time ago and I loved it. I really, really did. And it was on my list of patterns to eventually acquire, but you guys know that I don't want to have too big of a cross-stitch stash. And so I didn't want to buy it right away, but then when I realized that it was a Lazy Kate, I kind of ordered them. So I ordered the pattern and the floss that goes with it because it's a kit. It comes as a kit. So it comes with the floss and the pattern. The only thing I'm missing is the fabric. This is also Weeks Dye Works floss. And I believe there's a few DMC, those guys. I think those are just a few DMCs. But all the rest, they're pretty much dark, like plum, olive, and dark browns colors. But this is how it's gonna be. And this is what it says. A good marriage must be created. The little things are the big things. You're never too old to hold hands. Remember to say I love you every day. Don't go to bed angry. Say words of appreciation and gratitude. Forgive and forget. Give each other a safe place to grow. Marriage is not only marrying the right person, it is being the right partner. And this speaks so much to me, and I love it. I love it. And my partner and I are not married, but it's still it also applies for a good relationship. And it's also something that applies not necessarily for a love relationship, but also friendships as well. And I really, really love it. So I was planning on stitching this and putting it possibly in our bedroom or in our second level hallway. And so that was the plan. But I need to get fabric for that first. But now that I have fabric for the 3 little words, I might stitch this first instead of this. We'll see. I have a really big fabric upstairs that I love. My sister gave it to me. It's beautiful. I really want to find like the perfect project to go on it. And so every time I look at it and every time that I have a new pattern, I'm considering if it would work or not. But I think this one, the colors are already too dark to actually put on that one because it's a fairly dark fabric. So this one won't be able to go on it, but it's still a really, really good one. I like it. So that is it for me today. Thank you for watching, and sorry that I can't edit it. I think there's one thing that I will cut out is when my partner came back from the walk with the dog. I think I will cut this out because he was a little bit confused on what I was doing talking to my phone, but I will cut that out. But other than that, I think it's gonna be a raw episode. So thank you for watching. Please leave some comments below. Any questions or anything, please let me know. And I hope you will have a wonderful day, and I hope I will see you in about 3 weeks. Thank you for watching, everyone, and have a great day. Bye!